Commissioners, we all set? All right. The time is nigh. So I'm going to be calling this Kalamazoo City Commission Committee of the Whole meeting to order for Monday, August 19th, 2024. And our first order of business is roll call. Clerk Borling.
Commissioner Cooney. Commissioner Decker. Commissioner Hoffman.
Present.
Commissioner Pradle. Commissioner Wilson.
Present.
Vice Mayor Hess.
Present.
Mayor Anderson.
Here. Thank you, Clerk Borling. May I please have a motion to excuse Commissioners Decker, Pradle, and Cooney from this meeting?
So moved.
Motion made by Commissioner Hoffman.
Second.
Supported by Vice Mayor Hess. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay? All right, thank you so much. Motion passes. Communications, COO Lamb.
None this evening, thank you.
Okay, thank you. We do have a happy note. Our City Manager Risma is actually not here this evening because he's generally expecting a new addition to his family shortly. So we're wishing him all the best while we're having our meetings this evening. Hope that all goes well for his daughter. Now is the opportunity for public comments. Anyone in the chambers who would like to make a public comment, you may take advantage of this. We have 2 minutes. Please state your name and whether you live in the city. Seeing no one, we are now down to our work of the Committee of the Whole this evening. COO Lamb, I'll pass it over to you.
Sure, thank you. I'd like to invite Jay Slaby, our neighborhood activator, up to the podium. She's going to provide an update on neighborhood plans and neighborhood activation.
Thank you. Hi, Commissioners. So this is an opportunity to share what we've been doing since 2022 when I joined the city, transitioning from our previous neighborhood activator to the new team, and also welcoming Commissioner Wilson as the latest addition to the commission to kind of serve as an opportunity to share with him about our neighborhood planning model and as a refresher for commissioners that have been here since we've started this in 2017. So neighborhood activation. The city, throughout its decades, have seen neighborhood planning implemented time and time again. The iteration of this planning model was born out of Imagine Kalamazoo 2025 in 2017, with the goal to create neighborhood plans across all 22 neighborhoods of the city, to get residents mobilized in those areas and be able to work with them directly to let us know what targeted strategies we would like to implement at the neighborhood scale, whether it's traffic calming to housing to safety. And this tool has been, I think, really effective in terms of getting to exactly what residents feel and think and experience day to day when we look at our broader strategies that are in our master plan, our strategic vision, and other plans across the city departments. So what I did was I took our 10 strategic vision goals that we have as a city, and I wanted to, this is not an exhaustive list or we would be here forever, but I wanted to highlight some big programs and projects that we have done in the last 2 years that align with those 10 strategic vision goals. So let's start with complete neighborhoods, because that's where our neighborhood planning model comes from in the master plan. The idea is we want people to be able to access their daily needs where they live, where they work. Have walkable areas that they can feel like they can work, live, and play, connect to critical services in an efficient and safe way. Since 2017, we've been able to bring 9 neighborhood plans to the City Commission. In the last 2 years, I've brought you Stewart as well as Westwood recently. We're working on West Main Hill and Western's neighborhood plans currently, and we're in the process of organizing with Westnedge Hill, Douglas, Millwood, Colony Farms, Southside, and Burke Acres to be able to get them into a space where they're able to launch their effort around developing a plan for their neighborhood. As part of planning, we have this great document that you approve, but it only makes sense if we actually implement what's in those plans. So part of this work that we do at the city is to work with community partners, other staff, to be able to implement all of the projects outlined in these plans. For example, imagine Stewart has 6 goals. It has over 100 projects. Imagine Westwood has about five goals and roughly 75 projects. So we want to make sure that not only is this a plan that people can reference, but they can actually see it reflected in the built environment. The next goal is environmental responsibility. So what kind of projects do we do that align with that, and what progress have we made in the last 2 years? So Kalamazoo Roots was launched in partnership with KVCC. It provided education and opportunities for families in core neighborhoods to bring gardening supplies back home and learn how to grow their own food in their backyard. So we've been able to expand that across all core neighborhoods over the last few years, and then in this last year, we were able to use the remaining funding from Foundation for Excellence to team up with KVCC again to actually provide classes there for people to then extend their learning beyond what we've done so far. We've done tree plantings, focusing on neighborhoods that have the lowest tree canopy coverage in the city. On Arbor Day 2023, we were able to plant over 10 trees within the Washington Square area of Edison. We did a tree workshop in planning in Stewart as part of their neighborhood plan in fall of 2023. That's where we educated them on how to plant and maintain trees, and we were able to work with residents that day to also plant 6 trees within the neighborhood. We have a workshop planning scheduled for fall in Westwood, and what's great about this is this cross-jurisdictional. So we're working with the township to also provide this opportunity for all residents within the neighborhood. And then working with our public services team on some grant funding this fall to do some improvements along Portage Creek that will make it a lot more accessible for residents to be able to access that creek for many different benefits. Inviting public places. So one of my favorite things to do here in this role is to work with residents on identifying spaces within their neighborhood that are either neglected, blighted, or just underutilized. And being able to understand exactly what their needs are in that area and how we can leverage community partnerships to reimagine that space. So along Portage Creek from Reed to Elcott, we have this amazing opportunity to do a trail for residents to be able to not only do that for recreational use, but also to access critical resources at ISK, Family Health Center, and DHHS in the Edison neighborhood. So it's not just recreational, but it's also part of a transportation network for pedestrians and other non-motorized users, especially those most vulnerable, pregnant people, people with disabilities, youth, seniors. So what we did was to identify ways to make improvements while we continue to secure funding to pave the trail. And so part of that work is the group of residents that have spanned living there from 15 to 50 years in that neighborhood, formed a group called Edison Resident Scholars. So this is a grassroots group that meets monthly. So I was able to team up with them to understand that they had concerns about dumping at the end of the Bryant Street cul-de-sac, which is midpoint along that trail. And so they wanted to put some signage up, which we did implement that. But we talked about signage doesn't always stop the issue of dumping. And so how can we actually activate that space, change the energy in that area so people don't feel like they can do that. They feel like, oh, wow, there's other activities happening there. I can't just go there and dump my couch at the creek. So we decided to implement the second play street in the city right there. As part of that is, you see this picture, we installed a little library. If you go down there right now, there's a whole mural on the street that the Edison Resident Scholars secured a $3,000 grant from the Arts Council to be able to put together with residents and a local artist. And so we'll continue to improve that in the meantime while we secure funding for a larger trail, that they will have literacy installations to help encourage literacy in the neighborhood as part of that trail improvement. Other things that we've done is made community centers that are the hubs within different neighborhoods, like Oakwood Community Center that's been there for over 50 years. We've made the improvements so that it's ADA accessible, so now all people can feel like they can access that space and enjoy that space comfortably. Kensington Park in Winchell got several different recreational improvements, including a kayak launch, tree plantings, a new picnic bench, and then also new fencing. Parkview Hills, also several recreational improvements, basketball hoop, shuffleboard equipment, as well as new library expansion, which included collection for youth. And then, of course, before the Edison's Literacy Lane, we implemented Kalamazoo's First Place Street pilot at West Main Hill at Jones Park. Connected City. So this is about, as you know, getting all of our transportation networks to speak to one another so you can essentially bike, walk, take public transit, drive to anywhere in the city efficiently and safely. So some of the things that neighborhood activation programming has been able to support is getting the city reevaluated with the League of American Bicyclists as a bike-friendly community in 2022. And then through those recommendations, we committed ourselves to promoting National Bike Month, which is each year in May, as part of Kalamazoo's programming. And through that, we have now, since 2023, hosted an annual bike show that draws up to hundreds of people at Bronson Park to bring their bikes to participate in bike audits and bike rides, and being able to build up that culture of cycling in the community. Winchell had 2 remaining metro stops that were not in ADA compliance. Through our neighborhood funding for Winchell, we were able to add 2 benches at those stops and install pavement to make those now ADA compliant. So all of their metro stops are ADA compliant now. We also piloted, and as you see outside, permanently installed now at the Level Street cycle track that I use daily to get to work. Strength through diversity. So one of my goals that I've done in previous roles with other employers, and what I wanted to bring to this role with the City of Kalamazoo, was ensuring that we were connecting with a diverse range of vendors and contractors in our local pool of applicants. And so when we work to implement a project, we usually need a contractor to install a little library or to put up a sign. And so what I've worked on is, utilizing our minority vendor directory that we have at the city, but also building that. So through our connections and networking and programming that we've done over the last 2 years, just through our work alone, we've added over 20 minority-owned businesses to that directory, and making sure that A, people are familiar with it, but B, they understand the benefits of being a part of that directory. And they only see the benefit if we actually use that directory. So we use that every time we go out and figure out if when we need a contractor or another vendor. And so we try to prioritize looking at that and reaching out to quotes first before we continue to reach out to other vendors if we don't hear back. And so wanting to make sure that we connect with minority contractors specifically through technical assistance programming, and then contracting them on neighborhood projects. The other thing that I think aligns really well with the Strength Through Diversity goal is our launching of neighborhood betterment projects in 2024. So in the past, what would happen is we would receive funding from the city, through ARPA, to be able to implement projects as part of neighborhood plans. We would reach out directly with the neighborhood association to help us identify which projects that we wanted to implement for that year. This year, what we wanted to do was have the neighborhood associations identify some of the projects, right? Because we feel like they know best based on resident feedback that they receive day to day. But we also wanted to open it up directly to residents. So this year, we promoted across each neighborhood that has a neighborhood plan the opportunity for residents to directly submit proposals on projects as part of the neighborhood plan that they were interested in implementing. So we worked with neighborhood associations, but then we worked with other stakeholders directly, and through that, we were able to really implement some amazing projects. For example, in Winchell, we had a resident that came to us and proposed a bike rodeo. And at that bike rodeo, they had over 75 youth come out, get helmets, bike lights, and get their helmets fitted by the Bronson Trauma Center. And that was really amazing. All that work was completely done and led by those residents. So what we did was we took those proposals, we worked with the neighborhood associations to choose one of the applicants to fund. We gave them $500, and then they went and did it. And so that was able to also relieve some of that capacity issue that many of the neighborhood associations experience, and then also allowed for residents to take agency in implementing their own projects that they were passionate about in their neighborhood. Another example of that is in Edison. We have a resident that was awarded $500 to then put together pollinator gardens throughout the neighborhood. And again, that was something that maybe the neighborhood association could have lifted up, but this was a great opportunity for a different resident to step up that hasn't stepped up before and was able to connect with us and be able to do that successfully. Of course, safe community. So we just finished up 2024 National Night Out. We had over 1,000 people come across the 5 sites. We do this annually, and that's an opportunity for public safety to connect, but not only public safety, all of our departments to provide key resources and information to residents about upcoming projects or programs. As part of concerns that were provided to us a couple years ago from the neighborhood association and neighbors in the area, we had launched a Lake and Mills City Staff Task Force where we were meeting on a quarterly basis for ongoing monitoring. So that included a diverse range of staff, from public safety to our code inspectors, from our zoning administrator, and from our public services team to improve lighting at that intersection, upgrade that traffic signal. We were able to address some rental concerns, and we're able to work with the businesses right there at that corner to kind of help clean up some environmental concerns that were going on there. We invested in the expansion of the Edison Tool Share Library, providing them with a lot of equipment that we're able to offer more opportunities for residents to do rehab on their own in their homes. So having a generator so people could actually power the power tools that they're able to rent out, different tools that aren't usually available at different rental libraries. So this has been a really successful program that Edison has rolled out to be able to help connect residents to the tools that they need to make their own repairs. And then Northside had a home ownership series in the fall. We were able to distribute over 60 emergency and weatherization kits to homeowners that attended. Shared prosperity. So as you know, with shared prosperity, that focuses on Northside, Edison, and Eastside, making sure that we acknowledge and identify inequities that make it challenging for those neighborhoods to experience the same benefits from investments that we make across the city. So for us, when we look at the projects that we're doing, we also prioritize what work makes the most impact in these 3 neighborhoods, and spending a lot of time working with those neighborhood associations directly to understand exactly what they want to do and what makes the most sense. So different things from bringing families together to assemble and paint Eastside Little Libraries, installing 10 of them across the neighborhood and filling them up with over 120 books. And then having a tenant workshop offered in Edison to allow tenants to understand their rights in the state of Michigan and how to improve their relations with their landlord. We had various youth programming, from bucket drumming to bike safety classes for youth in Edison, and then the homeownership fair, which was 3 parts in Northside and continues to go on under the leadership of the new director. And then, of course, the Ransom Street corridor streetscape improvements is a $12 million project, but part of this was originally it was only looking at the underground utilities. Because of the presence of the Northside Neighborhood Plan, we were able to ensure that we were including improvements to the streetscape, such as new sidewalks that completely connect all 11 blocks of Ransom Street now. New lighting, new street trees, landscaping, and some cultural monuments that we'll be installing over the next few years. Economic vitality. We have spent a lot of time with this over the last 2 years, engaging with over 100 businesses across the city in just our work alone. We had 11 Latino businesses attend our Spring 2024 business workshop at El Concilio. We've hosted in the last 2 years Build Your Business Open House at NACD. So pretty much people can come there that might be operating a business, but may not have the business set up officially. And so they can come in and figure out how to get their tax EIN number, how to actually get an LLC established through the state, and they were also able to connect with our purchasing department to get their information on our vendor list. In progress, we're working with businesses across the Porter Street corridor to do an analysis in partnership with the firms Fishbeck and GWJ. So that's ongoing over this year and next year to be able to figure out the right mix of economic development strategies to implement across that commercial corridor that not only encourages new development, but also connects directly with existing businesses and emerging entrepreneurs in that area to get them in those spaces, in those commercial spaces as well. Western worked a lot with developing that relationship with Western in their government relations department. So they historically have done a scavenger hunt during freshman welcome week on campus to learn about all the different spaces on campus, the different buildings. In 2022, we invited them to come downtown during that day. So that day we had over 850 students come downtown via Metro, learning how to use the Metro to get downtown, as well as learning about all the amazing businesses and amenities we have downtown, with 11 businesses participating that year with different discounts. This year, we've expanded that to 42 businesses participating, which is this coming Saturday. And then lastly, our 2023 LinkedIn Entrepreneur event. So at the Black Arts and Cultural Center, we had a LinkedIn event last November where we had over 30 young professionals come, and they were able to get business cards, headshots, and other supports for getting their business off the ground. And what was exciting was we, again, utilized all minority vendors, as well as most of the attendees came from Northside, Eastside, and Edison for this event downtown. Good governance. As part of our good governance, we want to make sure that we're being transparent, that we're making clear and streamlined processes for people to feel like they can navigate efficiently at the city to be able to connect with resources or get the information that they need. So since 2022, I've engaged with the community at over 350 events. We've also really promoted and championed using 311. If there's a question about how do we get connected with the city, I leave that meeting with them chanting 311 every time. And often they're like, what's 311? I get them to plug it into their phone, and so that they know if they have a question, don't call me. Call 311. And then really prioritizing language translation and interpretation services for many of our promotional materials and community engagement events, especially within Edison. We want to ensure everyone that lives in the city of Kalamazoo understands what we're doing and feels like they can be a part of the work. And so we want to ensure that if they cannot speak English or they're low proficiency in English, they still feel welcomed, and they have the tools provided by us at meetings to be able to participate. And so we've connected regularly with El Concilio to identify more and more opportunities to do just that. And then we, of course, hosted the first Neighborhood Association retreat in January. 13 of 14 neighborhood associations were represented. We had over 7 facilitators from the state MEDC program to our officer talking about the crime mapping tool that the city has. And we had the groups of people rotate across these classes at the all-day event. And then at the second half, they were able to go to an open house where they could connect with over 19 community partners that were participating there to share their information, from Michigan Transformation to Kid Network to Consumers Energy. Youth development. we had a 2022 Youth Summit with over 8 neighborhoods represented. We connected with the youth to talk about how do they see their neighborhoods and what projects that they're most passionate about implementing. As a result of that, we had 6 youth lunch and learns after that to provide skill building courses around community organizing. And then in Stewart, some of the events that we've done are those 350 events that were focused on youth. We had a back to school event last August, which they're continuing to do each year now. We provided free haircuts to over 30 students, and we had over 200 attendees there. And so many of the students at Woodward Elementary are coming from Northside and Douglas area, and so we were able to connect with those youth and families at that elementary as part of Stewart's neighborhood plan goal of supporting Woodward School. The other event that came after that in October was their trunk or treat, and surprisingly, we weren't anticipating this, but we had over 1,600 people join us there, and we ran out of candy in less than an hour. And what was great about that were so many families came there, and we had so many different resources there as well. So not just candy, but we had our solid waste coordinator, Chris Broadbent, there with his trunk sharing about recycling and composting. We had public safety officers there with their stations. And so we were able to also share that great information with families as they were enjoying their time there. And then you see the logo Kalamazoo City. So within my first 3 weeks here, what I wanted to do was connect with students directly. I wanted to be able to work with students to build skills and a passion around community organizing and what it means to be a citizen in your community. And so through this, we thought those type of workshops and conversations are great from K through 12, but how are we really going to connect with higher ed students at KVCC, K College, and Western? We wanted to do something a lot more engaging. So that's where we created Kalamazoo City. So the idea is we connect with all 3 campuses to offer interactive workshops, competitions, different opportunities for professional and career building for students to be able to get immersed within the community. So one of that was the scavenger hunts that we brought them downtown. Another one was a walking audit where they went down Western Michigan and they were able to provide feedback to us. It was also a dual Halloween costume competition, and so the best dress was someone's dog, and they got the prize at the end of the walk audit. So it's these type of really exciting programming opportunities that we provide that speak maybe a little bit more attractively to youth to get them involved in some of these engagement and feedback opportunities that they may not ordinarily be interested in or feel like that's for them, especially students who may not be from the area and feel like their voice doesn't matter, but it does. And so this program is to embrace them as a stakeholder, not as an obstacle that I think a lot of different residents see them as, or a nuisance. We want to make sure that they feel welcome in the community just as much as anybody else, and hopefully they choose to stay here after their 4 years. And that is the last of our 10 goals. So where do we go from here? Like I said, there's plans in progress with some of the other neighborhoods. We're continuing to organize across the 22 neighborhoods to get those neighborhood plans together. It's an important tool because if you think of neighborhood activation as an umbrella, many of the different departments, public safety, parks and rec, public services, their work is done in a neighborhood. And so how do we ensure that we have the synergy happening across all those departments and the projects that they do so we can experience cost savings, but we also can experience emerging opportunities that we didn't know were there, such as including improving amenities at parks while also making it more walkable to get to the park through public services, traffic calming interventions. And so the opportunity to have a neighborhood plan that spans across those different topics, brings them all together, is really beneficial for residents to see themselves in that planning effort and be able to speak to us at that human scale so that they feel like their actual day-to-day experiences matter, and that the things that they either want to be addressed because they're a concern or something they want to be enhanced, invested in because it's something that they love about their neighborhood is actually reflected in the plans that we create, approve, and implement every day as city staff. So any questions? Did I go over time? Is it too long? I want you to have your hour. So.
Well, thank you for your high-energy presentation, Ms. Slavy. I always appreciate it. You bring that enthusiasm to the work you do here at the city. That means a lot. Questions, commissioners, for Ms. Slaby at this point? Vice Mayor Hess.
Just a few. Jay, I think that was really wonderful. I can't imagine what your workday looks like. No two are probably the same. A few things. Are you aware of Discover Kalamazoo's work with the Disability Network and mapping all of the visitors' sites here in Kalamazoo?
I am familiar with that. We have their sheets that they can scan the QR code to participate in our office for people to come in and grab those. That's a great opportunity for me to connect with them even more closely to see how we can further support based on the feedback and data that they receive from that. Yeah.
Awesome. So thanks for that. And next, in good governance, you mentioned things were translated. It made me curious. Maybe COO Lamb might know this, but are these meetings, are our commission meetings translated online or?
Not at this time, but certainly what I appreciate is some of the work that CPED is doing. It looks at what can we do to replicate it on a broader scale. So I think that's something we can certainly look into.
Yeah. One thing, just if I could mention, when I was a board trustee for Battle Creek Public Schools a couple years ago, I actually helped lead our district into translating all of our school board meetings into Spanish. So we worked with Voces, which is similar to El Concilio here in Kalamazoo. And so now we translate it both in Spanish and Burmese, and we're one of the few districts that do that across the state. It was a lot of work, but we made that happen because it was important to connect with all of our residents. So much larger scale for a city to do, but something to potentially explore because it is possible.
Fantastic. Thanks for doing that, Jay. And honestly, thank you for the work you do. You are the Energizer Bunny out in our neighborhoods, and especially just having passed my neighborhoods plan, I know that the work that you put in was exponential. So thank you so much for that.
Thank you, Vice Mayor Hess. Other questions? Yeah, Commissioner Wilson.
Thanks, Jay, for your presentation. I love the work that you guys are doing. I really love the fact that you guys are leveraging the minority and women own business directory. With all the opportunity that exists out there for all the projects that are going on, you mentioned hundreds of projects that are going on between all the neighborhoods. I think that directory is going to be very important, for getting those opportunities out to those that need them and might be unaware of them. I was wondering if you could speak to the process of, how to get on that directory for those that might not be aware.
Yeah, so you can go on the city's website, or you can come on down to City Kalamazoo, and I think you can just go straight to the purchasing department and ask for the sheet that you fill out, and then you bring it back. I think that one you might need to get notarized, which it can be done here in-house. What we do is when we do something relevant to business or economic vitality as part of an event, we'll always bring those with us for people to fill out there. And we've had a notary on site, whether it's from the city or we have someone contracted out to be able to do that so people don't have the hassle of doing that. One thing about the minority contractor list and how we prioritize is, when you look at it across the board, one of the key barriers in terms of getting more minority contractors in work is the scale of the work. Often it's a lot, you need a larger company, you need to be able to turn around things fast, and they often don't have that access to that tool or opportunity to do that. And so something like installing the little libraries to get their foot in the door as a contractor of the city is an amazing opportunity that we can't overlook. And so that's why I try to make sure anytime we can do that, whether it's catering for an event or doing contract work, let's look at that directory. And if I don't see a vendor that matches that service, then where are they in Kalamazoo, and let's get them on the directory. So that's how we approach it in the work that we do for neighborhood activation.
Love to hear it. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Wilson. Commissioner Decker.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Jay, for that presentation. It's always good to see the good things that are happening in our neighborhoods. So you mentioned that, your don't call me, call 311, which I like, because that is how we track our data, and that is how we get data. So with the neighborhood associations that I see that are in the works and that are possibly coming online and that you're working with, how does the 311 data help you when you're looking at really which neighborhoods that don't have associations yet for you to go out and kind of speak with them more? Like say if you've got a neighborhood and you're getting the data from 311 and you've got 500 calls on this particular thing, you're looking at that to say, hey, they don't have a neighborhood association, but they may like this. How do you work that?
Well, that's one of the questions that I first asked when I was learning about 311 when I first joined the city was, can we sort it by neighborhood? And that's something that we're working on implementing with an improved system to be able to do that, I think, a little bit more streamlined, more efficiently. Right now, we really can't, unfortunately. So it's been a little bit challenging to do that because we basically have to look at an address, and then they're getting hundreds of calls a day, right? So some ways that we've been doing, what we've been doing to organize is connections that I've made through different partnerships. Burke Acres, we have a planning commissioner. She stepped down at the meeting. I said, you haven't volunteered. We're moving forward. So I think that one thing that we're looking at doing, and my goal is to do this before the end of this year, is to bring back the quarterly all neighborhood meeting, where we provide an invite to people that we know from the different neighborhoods to just come and connect with us. The neighborhood association retreat was really designed for neighborhood associations to be able to build their capacity. But people that are not mobilized, not organized, they have their own set of needs and challenges. And so being able to have a platform for them, I think, is important, and we're hoping to get that started back up. It kind of transitioned out of practice during COVID and some turnover. So we'd like to bring that back, and I think that will help. And then great timing because we're ramping up for Imagine Kalamazoo 2035 for the next 10 years. And so an opportunity to meet with all those neighborhoods once again will be available to everyone. And so hoping that with me in place, again, we've had turnover with neighborhood activators, that me present at this time, I'll be able to identify people that are providing feedback from those neighborhoods that aren't organized and get them into a space to get organized with their neighbors.
Thank you. And when you talk about creating a neighborhood organization, really, how many individuals within a neighborhood does it really take to get something like that started?
So I will say officially the city doesn't have any requirement, okay, and we don't have anything that we've set as the gold standard, okay? But in my professional opinion, what I've shared with neighborhoods trying to get things together is come back to me when you've had 10 people come together regularly, on a regular basis. Now you say monthly. And if they all come, not 5 of them come every month and the rest come every 3 months. We're talking about all 10 or more come regularly and they're engaged. I feel like they're ready to then connect with me, because at that point, even if one drops, one moves away, we still got 9 or 8. We got a core that's been meeting and building and doing that team building. If you only got 3, you only need 1 to go, and then no one wants to do it. So that's why it's important, because we want to make sure that people feel like they can connect with the city, and there's a lot of different city staff to do that with. I really want to make sure that neighborhoods that aren't organized, or if they are, they don't have a plan, that doesn't mean we will not do work. If there's a pothole, public services is going to fill that pothole. We don't have to wait for a plan to be developed. But in order to get that plan, we need to make sure that the work that you're doing as your own separate neighborhood association is sustainable, that it's stable, and that they're able to actually be a steward in their neighborhood and not just fizzle out after the first 3 months of doing engagement for a plan and, oh, the plan's done, we're done. That's not the end of the road. So, yeah.
Thank you. And this last question, so do you guys have for the beginner organizations or beginning associations and ones that may have been struggling over the past few years, sometimes, when they come to these meetings, everybody has this idea, and that idea. Do you have maybe a template of certain things that a newly created or wanting to be created association can really start to talk about, to hone down on, versus, you open up a neighborhood plan and you have an association like, I can't do this, it's so much. But do you have like maybe a template of maybe 5 to 10 specific things that they should be focusing on within the 9, in case one goes away, individuals that do start to begin coming to these meetings?
Yeah, so 3 strategies that I think if people want to really get this going, they should think about. So number 1, don't always focus on bad things, concerns that you have in the neighborhood. Because as soon as that gets addressed, well, poof, then nobody's mad anymore and they stop coming to the meetings. And I think with some of the neighborhoods that are challenged and they're like, people are coming, but they just can't get formed quite, there to be able to say they're an association. It's always because they're focused on little concerns that not everyone's really aligned on. My advice is pick something that you love about your neighborhood. Do you guys have this like standard meetup in a park where just families organically come together at that time of the day and it's just like 50 families there? Invest in that. Maybe you can make that more official. Do you have an unofficial garage sale that happens across your neighborhood that maybe you can make that more formal and use that as an opportunity to get a group together? Something like that where once you get it going, it doesn't poof go away. You continue to grow that and invest into it. And so I think that's a great way to get people mobilized and sustained for that type of work. The second strategy is on our part, and so with me getting Imagine Stewart and Imagine Westwood behind me with just developing the plans, my goal is actually not to wait to start on the rest of the neighborhood plans until somebody says they're ready. A third of the plan is all about existing conditions, which for the most part I can write already. Because I got the data and the maps, and I can go out and I can ask some questions. We can do a survey. We don't need a neighborhood association for that. What I think is helpful is every time I work with a neighborhood that's kind of getting formulated, they want to know about their neighborhood. They live there, but they don't know how many youth are there or seniors are there or how old their storm drains are. We can provide that information or help them connect to the U.S. Census data, right, to get that information themselves. What I want to do is work on getting the existing conditions sections for all remaining neighborhoods finished. So pretty much I can deliver that to a neighborhood that's kind of getting their stuff together to help them figure out who they are as a neighborhood and maybe use that to start conversations. Lastly, we have done this in the past, which I did not share as part of this presentation. I would certainly like to do this more. This was a response to neighborhoods who say, you guys are isolating us, you're not helping us because we don't have a neighborhood plan, which again is not true. The city is always in all the neighborhoods doing what they need to do. But I wanted to make sure that they didn't feel like they were disconnected. So what we would do is have a ongoing series where we would have a meet and greet with a different staff from a different department, from our forester to our DEI. And so we would have someone come every month to present. And some of them we would stream it on Facebook so people could connect virtually. But that was an opportunity for people to connect with staff they didn't even know existed and have that conversation on what that means for their neighborhood. So we brought sustainability planner West Main Hill before we got their stuff going. And they were able to understand, what do we do when it comes to sustainability at the city? And what does that mean for West Main Hill? And that was really exciting. Same thing with Millwood. We did that. We had the forester come. They got to ask. Better example, we had our GIS analyst come and talk about the importance of GIS. Why does that matter to an everyday resident? Residents are always calling 301 to say, I can't work the map online. I'm trying to look up something for my neighborhood. And so he was able to talk about how we put the data together, how you use it, and we streamed that so people could ask questions on their Facebook group. So I would love to do that more, and that's like a partnership, right? So city staff providing their expertise and their time to share that at a meeting, but that's for also the neighborhood association or a group of neighborhoods to residents to promote that and have us get it hosted somewhere in their area for people to come. So that's, I think, another way, again, to start those conversations without needing maybe a full-fledged neighborhood association. Next time I'll bring some water.
Thank you.
I'm struggling.
You all set, Commissioner Decker? All right, any other questions? Once again, thank you very, very much. I appreciate all your work and taking a few moments to come and talk to us about it. It means a lot.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yes. COO Lamb.
Yeah, just wanted to continue the thanks not only to Jay, but also the entire community planning, economic development team, and all of the department partners, not to mention the neighborhood leaders. So she's going through that exhaustive list of all the projects happening, and it's exciting and great to see what comes when people work together, and really what it means to breathe life into these plans. So thank you, thanks to the CPED team and to everybody.
Appreciate it. Thank you. Well, Commissioners, now is the opportunity for Commissioner comments for the Committee of the Whole. Just a reminder for anyone who might be watching, there is also an opportunity for Commissioner comments at our business meeting, which starts in a little over an hour at 7 o'clock. Anyone who wants to make a comment for the Committee of the Whole meeting? All right. Seeing no comments, we are now adjourned, and we'll see everybody at 7 o'clock.